Now that everything behind the intake manifold has been removed, I'm going to use my harmonic balancer tool to remove each of the flex plate bolts. There's a tiny access door on the back of the engine bell housing here where you can access one of each of the 4 bolts at a time as you spin the crank around. All the torque converter bolts are removed from the door passage on the back of the engine bell housing. All of the bell housing bolts for the transmission are all cracked loose. Pretty much all that needs to happen is underneath the car now. So I'm getting ready to go under. This is my first time recording underneath a car, so my bad if it's absolutely terrible footage. We already started draining the transmission yesterday. These things hold a lot of fluid, but they only drain about 3 quarts at a time. In total, this whole unit takes about 12 quarts. Let me show you what's going on back here. So I've got the heat shield unbolted from the underbody. There's 2 bolts back here by the rear muffler. 2 bolts up here on the rear. And as you can see, the exhaust pipe runs right underneath this transmission. I was going to remove these bolts and they're pretty well rusted in place. On the exhaust manifold end, arguably worse. I'm considering just cutting the pipe here, dropping the intake manifold out to take this whole piece out of the car, and then we can cut this muffler out and put a straight pipe in with some clamps back together at the end. Alright, so I was just looking back through my footage and it turns out I was taking pictures. Basically, the exhaust manifolds on either side of the engine, because it's a flat 4. Same thing with the intake on top, looks like kind of the same thing. There's 3 bolts on either side on each of the manifolds. It's mirror image over here. It's pretty simple to take out. Now I can get some actual footage of me cutting the other section of the muffler off, because that would be cool, right? Ooh. What happened there? Well, looks a lot better, so I'm gonna go with it. This is the muffler. As you can see, it's about the size of a briefcase. That's done. drive shaft won't rotate because the rear wheels are locked up by the parking brake. I'm gonna disengage the parking brake. Here, I can just turn it a lot easier with the wheel. All right, there's the last two. Here and here. Now I gotta remove the drive shaft. So the drive shaft runs from the tail of the transmission through this carrier bearing so that this dampens vibration. There she goes. All right. Now we can remove this from the tail of the transmission. Oh. I thought that wouldn't happen since I drained the transmission. I actually knew exactly why the transmission started leaking after I removed the drive shaft, and here's a little explanation why. I just guess I started lying to fill silence on camera. Huh. All right, drive shaft is out. Means transmission's coming out soon. I did want to stop and measure this hunk of junk. And let's see how long of a replacement pipe we're going to need. It's about 21 inches. I'm continuing the transmission swap on my sister's Legacy today, and we're getting pretty close to dropping the transmission out. I've got a few more things to do to prepare, but let's see how much I can get done. My girlfriend's supposed to be back in about 3 hours, so let's see what I can do before then. This mount has seen better days. It is so easy to move with my hands, and it should be very stiff. So I think I have a spare one of these laying around because I bought a new one for the saw while it was still automatic. I think it would be the same automatic mount. We'll have to find out. Oh man. This is the middle exhaust hanger. It's just a bolt through one, and it's attached to the back of the transmission with two 12mm here. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove that because it's gonna hit the ground before the pan does, and it's gonna make it a pain to drag on the grass. So we'll take that off. There's one thing about working on cars that gets old. It's crawling underneath here. Whoa. So we have to remove the shift linkage and the two hose lines that run the transmission fluid to the front radiator. This right here is the shifter mechanism. The main thing is this key right here has to be pulled out, and then you can slide the armature off the side of the pin, and then there's a couple of bolts up here. So currently, the torque converter is stuck to the engine, even though all the bolts are removed. So, as the camera ran out of battery, I managed to get the torque converter unstuck from the engine. I pretty much just stuck 2 crowbars in on either side and jimmied it out by walking it back and forth till it popped free. So now we have to lower the transmission a few inches, remove the shifter linkage, and then pop out the front drive axles from both sides. And then it's gonna be home free. The old transmission is finally out. It's time for the unboxing of our new transmission, finally. This is actually a very exciting moment. I'm using my Milwaukee Fastback here to open this thing up. I absolutely love these knives, although I will tell you, if you're gonna buy one now, maybe don't, because it looks like they only make them out of plastic now. I bought a new pack and this is entirely made out of some sort of composite plastic with an inner metal frame, and while it seems to be just as durable, it just isn't the same as the old full aluminum one. Let's get back to it. Oh yeah. Look at this. It looks great. That thing looks awful. Since they left these plugs, I might as well check if they fit, because that is supposedly the one difference between all of these 4 speeds is the plugs. They get different plugs over the years with different sensors and different wiring patterns, so they change up the plug every so often, and they both fit. Okay, that's awesome. Then we should be pretty much good to go, which is very exciting. We can start putting it back in.